We have time for one more quick call. I'm going to go to the 916 area code. Caller from 916. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Dalmar from Sacramento.
All right, go ahead, Delmar.
All right, so my question is about the James Damore memo. I know you did an interview with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is basically, what did you think about the contents of the memo? He had a thesis about, average personality differences between men and women, and this may be affecting their numerical representation in the technology sector.
Right.
So I was wondering if you thought this was a sort of a plausible hypothesis for why women are underrepresented in the tech sector.
I'm open to exploring that. I think it's perfectly fine to explore when it was Larry Summers who said, hey, it's possible that there's fewer women in math because there's some kind of brain predisposition towards math for men and away from math for women. Like, I'm open to that. I don't think it's inherently problematic to ask that. James Damore's memo in particular was extraordinarily poorly cited. Like, I think you would admit, Delmar, that he wasn't claiming to have done any of the underlying research for the claims himself, right? He was citing research that others had done. Would you grant me that?
Yeah, I would grant that.
Okay.
He wasn't doing the research himself. Yeah.
Sure. So, and if you grant that, then would you grant that it's really important to check the citations and the research that he is pointing to? Would you grant me that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, if you found that a bunch of his citations went to pages that didn't exist on the internet, would that make you question the conclusions that he comes to?
Yeah, that would definitely make me question his conclusions.
It would. And if you clicked on some of the citations and some of them went to papers, but you weren't finding in the papers where the research justified his conclusion, would that make you question his conclusions?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you repeat that one?
If you went and read some of the citations, some of the works that he cited, and it didn't seem as though the conclusions he reached actually were supported by the cited work, would that be a cause of concern for you?
Yeah, definitely. That would make me question his rigor and his reasoning.
There you go. So my problem with James Damore was that when you actually look at the cited work and how he came to his conclusions, it was very poor. You had a combination of citing works that didn't actually support his conclusions and straight up links that didn't go anywhere. So am I open to the argument that he was making? Absolutely. Do I think that he's the guy to be writing the memo? Probably not.
Okay, so in that case, my sort of follow-up question would be, so if you think that his memo was basically poorly argued, even though the argument is not necessarily inherently offensive, basically is poorly arguing for a plausible idea, is that grounds for being terminated at a company like Google? Should that be grounds for being terminated?
I have no idea. That's Google's decision to make. But I think you're making one mistake, which is I said that I don't think there's anything inherently wrong or offensive with exploring the question that James Damore was asking. You said it's a plausible argument, and that those are sort of two different things. Is it offensive to explore a proposition versus is it plausible, likely, or certain? I think those are two different things. But you know what? Let me ask you one other thing. Are you still really, like, is the James Damore memo still a big thing for you at this point? Like, is that something you're focused on significantly?
No, not really. I just thought it was just an interesting episode, and it sort of revealed a lot. It sort of led into and related to a lot of questions about, political correctness and what do we consider offensive, and there's the thesis that people on the right tend to say that political correctness. What's wrong with it is that it stops us from being able to have open inquiry, and people on the left tend to say that political correctness is just about being inclusive and it's totally benign.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if the verdict on this question would allow us to make a judgment about whether the right wing story about political correctness or the left wing story about political correctness is more correct.
No, I don't think James Damore's memo would adjudicate political correctness, big picture. Delmar, I got to go. Appreciate the call very much. Sorry to everybody that I didn't get to. We will take calls again next week.